Call the meeting to order. I want to acknowledge that the Smoking Valley in which we learn, work, and organize is the ancestral, traditional, and unceded territory of the Smoking people, home of the Upper Smoking Indian Band. Can I get a motion to adopt the agenda as presented? Thank you. Councillor Blaine.
Second.
Gould. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Motion to adopt the November 5th regular meeting of council minutes.
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Elliott.
Second, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Willis. Heirs or omissions? All in favor? Carried. Thank you. And motion to accept the November 12th, 2025 Committee of the Whole minutes as presented.
So
Gould.
seconded.
And McLean, heirs or omissions? All in favor? Carried. We do have a delegation today. We have an official community plan bylaw number 2025 amendment, housing needs report alignment, and Maren should be online to do a presentation. So, Maren, if you're there, I pass it over to you.
Great, thank you. Can you hear me all?
Yep.
Great. Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. It's good to be here again. Nice to see you all on screen. Staff there in the background. I have a brief presentation to walk you through the most recent revisions to the Princeton OCP as a result of Bill 44. And as he said, Spencer alignment with the housing needs report. So, before we get started, I just have a quick refresher on the provincial legislative requirements, and I'm sure you are all very familiar with. Then we'll go into what we did to address the new legislation and the key revisions to the OCP, and finally what future work is now required by the town as a result of Bill 44. So, Bill 44, as you know, was passed in November 2023, and it required in part that municipal and regional districts develop interim housing needs reports by January 1st, 2025, using a new standardized H&R method to identify current housing needs and those over the next 5 to 20 years, with full housing needs reports due by year-end 2028. So Princeton actually opted to complete the full report early, and the report was adopted in December of 2024. So, like I said, the full report isn't actually due until 2028. The province and relief to given the short timeline, but you guys are ahead of the game here. So, as part of this project, a comprehensive community housing needs survey was conducted, if you recall, and roughly 10% of Princeton's population participated in that survey. Several one-on-one interviews were also conducted with vulnerable residents as a bit of a deeper dive into understanding housing challenges among this subgroup of the population. And the housing needs report forecasted housing need over the next 5 to 20 years in a number of different categories. So here we are today with the OCP update, which was required once the housing needs report was adopted by council. So just some quick administration details. So municipalities were required to review and update their official community plans and zoning bylaws by December 31st, 2025, following the interim housing needs report, or within 2 years of the completion of the first regular housing needs report, so the full housing needs report. So this is to ensure that the statements and maps and land use designations and policies permit the number of housing units needed over the next 20 years, according to the housing needs report. So there is no published timeline for municipalities that opted to do the full housing needs report in terms of next steps to update their OCP and zoning bylaws. So you're actually ahead of the game as well in terms we understand you're ahead of the game as well in terms of updating your OCP and subsequently your zoning bylaw, as you did opt to do the full housing needs report versus the interim report. So what we did, this was a two-step process. So we compared the housing needs report with the official community plan that you adopted in 2020, end of 2023. And we also reviewed a number of Princeton plans that were adopted after the official community plan was adopted. So plans like the poverty reduction strategy, the age-friendly action plan, the 10-year Parks and Recreation Master Plan, and we also identified changes and additions needed as a result of those plans coming into play. We also invited the Upper Similkameen Indian Band and the Vermilion Forks Métis Association to provide input into the draft OCP changes. So the update needs to ensure that OCP policies and guidelines not only address each of a number of housing categories that were identified as part of the housing needs report, but also establish conditions that support greater housing diversity and an adequate supply of housing to meet all the community needs. So the housing categories, if you recall, that were required as part of the housing needs report were for and extreme housing need, affordable housing, rental housing, special needs housing, seniors housing, family housing, and homelessness or people at risk of homelessness. So the good news is there weren't a lot of changes needed to the OCP. Many of the town's housing needs report findings are already reflected in the OCP that you adopted in 2023. Also, the town is making really good progress on implementing the OCP already. So we were able to make some updates based on what's already been done and reflect that in policy or action changes within the OCP. The growth management section of the OCP is really where we made most of the edits, and there were a few goals and policies that were added to reflect housing need report themes and that were not already fully covered in the OCP. And we made some slight revisions to existing policies as well. So as Princeton's OCP was nearly complete when the new provincial housing legislation came into effect, many of the town's housing needs report findings, like I said, are already reflected in existing policies and guidelines. The OCP listed the 2023, the OCP that was adopted in 2023 listed a higher than historical growth rate that was anticipated over the next 20 years. That rate was identified at 1.5%. This actually ended up being slightly lower than what the housing needs report results suggested growth would look like over the next 20 years. So the next slides will give you a little bit more detail on the specific changes to the OCP, including the growth rate. So key changes. Before we get into growth management, there were a couple of new pages added. So new pages 20 and 21 were added to the OCP to summarize the results of the housing needs report. Under the growth management section, the growth rate was updated from 1.5 to 2%. So we were pretty close in terms of projected growth for the 20-year OCP timeframe. The new growth rate is based on the housing needs report, and it comes in somewhere between 1.5 and 2%. Many of the new homes needed, based on the results of the housing needs report, are actually to accommodate existing residents versus new people moving to town. So that could be things like suppressed households, so households that were not able to form, could be due to affordability, so adult children living with parents, for example. Also, people are homeless and those in extreme core housing needs. So that could be people that need housing replacements, for example. It could be due to extensive damage due to the flood. So given the amount of development that we know is currently proposed in town and the findings of the housing needs report that indicate that that 877 housing units will be needed over the next 20 years to meet the growing need. 2% actually is not unreasonable. So we anticipate there are about 629 new units that would be needed for new people moving to town, and then the rest of those units would be likely for existing residents. Of course, we can't know exactly what that mix is going to look like, but that's generally what the results allude to. So other key changes in the growth management section. So new page 26, we updated the residential density table. It has a new category for shelter and emergency housing, so that did not exist prior. This is for people experiencing homelessness, and this was a theme that needed to be strengthened within the official community plan. Also in the growth management section, we updated numbers related to projected housing need. While the demand for single-family homes we know is still going to remain strong, there will be a greater focus on low-density multifamily housing, such as two-family homes and accessory dwelling units, partly due to Bill 44 and the allowance of accessory dwelling units in all single-family and duplex homes. And under the special needs and affordable housing section of the OCP, there were a few changes made, and this is starting on new page 42. So we strengthened policies related to affordable rental housing and homes in need of major repairs. One of the policies that was added, for example, was related to the town supporting the preservation and rehabilitation of housing units identified as needing major repairs. We also inserted policies related to supportive housing. For example, one related to the town supporting the development of permanent supportive housing, low barrier housing, transitional housing, and other forms of housing that provide on-site or connected services for people with mental health and substance use needs. So just to be clear, this isn't policy that's requiring the town to build these housing units, but it's allowing the town or providing the town with an opportunity to support this kind of development. And under promoting healthy and active living within the OCP, and this section starts on new page 71, we strengthen policies related to housing for vulnerable residents. So this would be people like seniors, unhoused individuals, and people with disabilities. These policies were strengthened to promote inclusivity. So one of the policies that was added was to enable supportive housing and seasonal shelters through appropriate zoning and temporary use permits to address urgent needs. Again, this was a bit of a gap in the OCP that was adopted in 2023. And under prioritizing environmental responsibility and stewardship, this was starts on new page 75. Only one policy was added here, and it aligns with the not only the housing needs report, but the poverty reduction strategy. And this was a policy related to supporting resilient housing, so housing that promotes risk reduction from natural disasters, such as wildfires and floods. And finally, there were some general policy updates as well. As mentioned, we did look at plans and strategies that were put in place after the OCP was adopted in 2023. The age-friendly plan, the poverty reduction strategy, and the parks and recreation plan, for example. And we updated actions within the OCP that identified those as deliverables. Now that they've been adopted, we've changed the actions to indicate that these plans now need to be implemented. So these secondary plans, such as the age-friendly plan and the poverty reduction strategy, they will be instrumental in implementing So what does this look like for the future? So there are a number of steps that need to take place to ensure the town continues to stay within alignment with Bill 44. So the first one being the zoning bylaw update, the second being housing needs reports every 5 years, and then followed by OCP and zoning bylaw updates within 2 years after each new housing needs report is adopted. So you may be aware that there is a comprehensive review and update of the town zoning bylaw currently underway, and it will ensure alignment with the housing needs report and the new OCP, and it will be a full refresh given the existing or current town zoning bylaw is dated over 10 years ago. And then given the housing needs report was adopted by council in 2024, and it was the full report versus the interim report that was required by the province, your next housing needs report wouldn't be due until the end of 2029, so you have a little bit of time. And then this means from the date of adoption of the next housing needs report, you would have 2 years to update your OCP and zoning bylaws again to bring them in alignment with any changes to the new housing needs report. So I realize that was a lot to digest in a short period of time. If you have any questions or comments, I would be happy to speak to those.
Anybody have questions?
Just, pardon me, but is that reference to the age-friendly study or whatever that was done, is that in this package that I've missed or something?
It's not in that package, but I believe it is now available on the town's website, and Carrie would be able to email you a copy of that as well.
Perfect.
Anything else?
It's a major concern of mine.
Wasn't going there, Randy, but since you brought it up. Anything else?
No, thank you.
Okay. Thanks, Maren. Good work as always. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good afternoon.
You too.
You too.
Okay, no unfinished business. We'll go down to staff reports. The first one is appointment of the chief election officer and deputy chief election officer. And Carrie, do you want to talk quick about that?
We have an election coming up in 2026, and council is responsible for appointing a chief and deputy election officer. The resolution has me as the chief and Jeannie Williams as the deputy.
Any questions?
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
So second.
Okay, moved by Councillor Elliott, second by Councillor Gould. Do you accept? All in favor? Carried. You don't get a say, I guess. We're just doing it. 6.2 is the 2026 meeting schedule, regular and committee of the whole. Has everybody taken a look at it? Carrie's painstakingly gone through it all.
With the schedule, I'll be missing 5 regular meetings. Well, 2 3 before elections.
Okay.
And thank you for all the changes to the community list, because I can make every single one of those.
And before we vote on it, I will strongly urge council that if you're gonna be away, to let Carrie know so that we know prior to a meeting that we're gonna have quorum or not. We had to cancel one meeting last week because we didn't have quorum, and as a result, we've pushed a public hearing back a month, so just because we have requirements to advertise the meeting, so.
Yeah, I respond when Carrie sends the invitations, I respond with which ones I can.
Does anybody want to know the changes that's in the report? I can go over them a bit. No, you're good?
Okay.
Everybody's okay?
Yep, you'll send out a meeting invite for everyone.
I will.
There we go. Can I get a motion to accept them?
Make the motion.
Thank you, Councilor Willis. Secretary McLean, all in favor? Carried. Council reports. Councilor Willis, let's start with you.
I really don't have much to report right now, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, Councilor Gould.
Just attended the budget meetings and
Councillor McLean.
On my way down to plow my lot at the restaurant at 4:30 in the morning. The hill roads were already plowed. I appreciate that.
Thank you. Councillor Elliott.
Busy as always. I'm not going to detail all of them, but Gristmill Operations Society meeting, Healthcare Steering Committee, Okanagan Regional Library, Canadian Mental Health Association, Two Rivers Event Society, Princeton Museum, and I'm sure you want to speak about the cold weather supports for unhomed meeting that we attended, and budget, and so yeah, busy calendar as always.
Not really, I don't want to talk about it.
All right then.
Crappy meeting. That's just the bluntness of it. Yeah, lots of meetings as always. Some of the highlights, I guess, let's see. We did budget, we did regional district budgeting. I attended the, what day was that? The South Okanagan, or the Okanagan Similkameen Water Leadership Table in down at Lower Similkameen Indian Band office with the Okanagan Nation chiefs and the councillors and local officials from the Okanagan and Similkameen. That's moving forward. We're starting some working groups to dive into other things. We had a Smoking Valley Planning Society meeting. And yeah, as Councillor Elliott stated, we had a meeting, was that last Thursday?
Yep.
I think it was last Thursday after regional district. We had a meeting about the unhoused and the cold weather shelter that we were not given, I guess. And yeah, we're still looking for support. Province is doing a dance, and we have an operator who's willing to operate one. We had staff provided 4 different locations in town that they could possibly lease, the province could possibly release, and it was all turned down. So yeah, we have, as of the last count, 31 people that were living on the street. 4, I believe, were from out of town. And then there's 10 living what they call precariously, which means they're on and off of the street. They're sleeping on somebody's couch or floor somewhere. So that brings the number up into the 40s. And yeah, I think that's all I got.
I found it very interesting that the stats also showed that 54% of the unhomed are women.
Yep. And about the same number were Indigenous.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a continuation. I've asked Family Services to come do a presentation on their counts. They're going to try to make it to the next committee of the whole. There's a conflict at the same time, so we're going to see if they can make it. If not, hopefully the next regular meeting of council on the 17th they'll come to. Yeah.
At the water meeting, did you, was there any reference to the water levels? I remember year before, or it might have been even a year before that, we got warnings that it was at a certain number. I would have thought this year would have been as bad or worse.
This year was worse. This year we were in a level, was it 5? 4 drought from what, March or April? Right through the whole summer. We were the most drought-ridden area in the province for the longest period of time. There was only one other area that matched us for most of the summer, and that was the Kootenays. I think it was the Kootenays, somewhere over there. And then there was 1 or 2 other places near the end of summer that matched us. The province has changed their reporting out model. They tell us what the drought level is at whatever time, and I don't know where we might not have been in that meeting, but apparently they're not going to tell us when to do water restrictions anymore. They're kind of leaning on the local operator to make that decision all upon themselves with no guidance from the province. Part of the watership, or the water table, is to address things like that, as well as numerous other things, but, the Okanagan Nation, they're just as concerned about the drought levels as the, local governments are. We had a meeting last year in Karamias, with the provincial drought, I forget their terminology, but they came and did a talk to us about the aquifer in the Smokeweed Valley. So there's a lot of work going on. The regional district, we're looking at possibly doing our own version of what they've done in the Kettle River system. They brought together a service area to monitor the river, do education and whatnot. So the regional district right now, I've put it on our strategic plan for next year to work on a service agreement bylaw and how to fund that and how to bring that piece to the Similkameen. The Okanagan has the Okanagan Basin Water Board, whereas we don't have that. So they're a statutory organization that has some level of governance over the Okanagan watershed. So they get all kinds of funding and studies and whatever. The Similkameen doesn't have the same thing, so it's gonna be kinda on us to do our own and figure out our own path forward. So we have the buy-in from the valley so far to move forward with it, and I think as we move forward, we'll have full buy-in on that. And we're hoping to run that actually not so much through the regional district, but through the Smokeweed Valley Planning Society, so that we can bring the upper and lower Indian bands in, so that all jurisdictions are at the table moving forward.
Thank you.
Anything else? Okay, I'll move forward. 8, correspondence received and filed. We have one, Spark BC, November is Accessible Parking Awareness Month. That was last month, unfortunately. I am gonna keep this. There is a grant that we can apply for, so I wanna look into that to see if we can, use it to help some accessibility issues in town. So I'll look into that, because we don't have any staff that have time on their schedule. So I get a motion to receive 8.1.
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councilor Elliott. Seconder, Councilor Gould, all in favor? Carried. No correspondence action requested. Takes us to bylaws and resolutions. Number 10.1, fees and charges amendment bylaw number 2 bylaw. Is that right, James?
Yes, that's right.
Oh, yeah, number 2 bylaw. It's all yours.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So for council consideration, it's actually a rescinding of third reading, an amendment, and to give third reading again. After council gave 3 readings to the fees and charges bylaw, which puts in place fees relating to fire protection services for private residences when they're covered under insurance. The contractor, after some additional consultation with the RDOS and with the Thompson-Nicola Regional District, added a couple of extra lines that pertain to fee guides from BC Wildfire. So they requested that we put it in as part of the contract we plan on signing, and the rest of the bylaw remains unchanged. So I asked council to rescind third reading, amend the bylaw, and put it back to third reading so we can have it passed in the night.
Questions?
No question. I was gonna move it.
Question. There was a comment made, when we were all together, at the fire hall about, charging for false alarms and stuff, and I don't see that in that bylaw at all, so.
Is that something that we can actually charge for?
That'd be something we would have to look into. Yes, I believe under the community charter we can. The bylaw amendment as written is only in regards to the new service for insurance on
Right.
houses, but we
Of
can look into
loss.
that as staff.
That would be separate from this one.
Correct.
Okay.
I just wanted to make sure, I couldn't find it, so if it was in there, I missed it.
So Councilor McLean is moving.
Second that, Mr. Mayor.
Councilor Willis, any last questions or comments? All in favor? That's carried. 10.2, official community plan amendment bylaw, first and second reading. And that's to the presentation we just saw. Carrie's here to answer, Carrie and Mark are here to answer any questions.
Yeah, we're just looking for first and second reading and direction to hold a public hearing at the first meeting in January, which is January 21st. All the changes that Maren has made to the OCP is in yellow in the document that has been provided to you, attached to the agenda. Most of the updates have to do with aligning it with the housing needs report, and as Maren suggested in her delegation or spoke to, there's other policies that have been added to go with the age-friendly poverty reduction and recreation plans.
Questions?
So move, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Moved by Councilor Elliott.
I was gonna ask a question.
You can second and then ask the question.
Okay. I'll second.
Okay.
And
Good.
then ask a question.
Yeah.
Carrie, so throughout the years when we do OCP amendments and stuff, this also cleans that up as well, right? Those, any previous OCP amendments from the original adoption of the bylaw, I think it was 2019, I think you said?
Any OCP amendments prior to this OCP have been rescinded.
Okay, so, but if they were changed for zoning or OCP plans, it's incorporated, it's like
It
kind of
would be-
cleaning
it-
all of it up and starting.
Correct. When we adopted this, I think we've had one OCP amendment.
Yeah, right after.
Yeah, and it was for land use, correct? Yeah. Can't even remember which one it was. But yeah, it's a living document, it's consolidated, so any changes that happen throughout the lifetime of this OCP, this bylaw, would be incorporated into it.
And our development permit areas were, I think, one of the major changes that we did.
That is correct. We added the industrial park and environmental.
And wildfire.
Yeah,
The wildfire.
And multifamily.
Yes, the multifamily homes, so yes.
Thank you.
And that was, that came from the public, from the community, through all our public consultation.
Yeah.
They all wanted to see the DPs for those areas.
Excellent.
Anything else? Call the question, all in favor? That carries, thank you. That leaves us with adjournment. Motion to adjourn.
So moved, Mr. Mayor?
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor McLean, are you seconding? All in favor? Carried, thank you, and